Ben Stokes won his first ever match as England Test captain with a long-awaited victory over New Zealand at Lord's, but it was his predecessor who stole the plaudits. Not only did Joe Root hit a match-winning 115 not out against the world champions, he also entered the 10,000 runs club.
Root advances, clips the ball past mid-wicket, out to the deep mid-wicket boundary. He's coming back for the second. Joe Root. He takes his helmet off. He raises his bat to the crowd. The second Englishman to reach 10,000 runs. And one of the greatest moments for him here at Lord's.
It doesn't get much more special than that, does it? A century at the home of cricket to give your side a much-needed win and join that exclusive club of just 14 batters to have reached the milestone of 10,000 Test runs. And Brett, we saw the pressure of, being captain taken off Root, but the pressure was certainly on when he came to the crease, wasn't it? And it was quite a remarkable knock in the circumstances.
Absolutely. Things were so precariously placed after those early wickets. And then, of course, he lost a couple more partners at 69 for 4, I think it was. Still over 200 runs from victory before those partnerships with Ben Stokes and perhaps most importantly with Ben Foakes. There were still 120 or so runs to get at that point, and especially considering England's long tail. But that's what it's all about. It's not simply about making runs, Ali. That's half the battle, of course, but you prove your worth to the team by those match-winning situations. And he might not be captain anymore, but there was so much leadership and experience in the way he commanded the crease. And we talk about being there at the end, hitting the winning runs, making sure you're there at the end. And he was. And the 10,000 run milestone was a curious cherry on top, icing on the cake, whatever you like, particularly given it was the previous captain, Alistair Cook, that he managed to tie with in terms of when he reached that mark. But this was the ideal start to Joe Root as the non-captain.
Yeah, and Charo, I don't know whether you remember this, because it was also extraordinary that Root had never scored a fourth innings 100 for England before in all his multiple Test centuries. But it took my mind back to 2008 because a similar great batsman in Sachin Tendulkar, he had a little bit of a monkey on his back about fourth innings hundreds to help India win. And he managed to do it in Chennai, a rearranged Test match actually, in the wake of the Mumbai terror attacks. And he brought up his 100 with a boundary that also took India over the line in a record run chase as well. He then dedicated the win to Mumbai, and it was a very emotional and emotive sort of moment. But I was watching Joe Root, just imagining something similar, thinking, how would Lord's erupt if he was on 97 with England needing 4 runs to win, and he peels off a boundary, goes past 10,000 runs, get the 100 and the England win all in one. Talking of Sachin then, Charu, Root's got 10,015 Test runs at the moment. Sachin finished with 15,921. Do you think Root could catch him?
Yes, why not? Because, he's a batsman, he's not bowling, he's in good shape. And if he continues to score through a purple patch as he's been enjoying for the past, 12 months or a little more, he'll just take another 5 years or less, 4 years to get there because he's scored so many. Of course, it's a big ask. And this whole business about captaincy or not, I wonder what the relevance is, because even when he was captain, he was scoring prolifically. So maybe it's not, there's no monkey off his back or nothing. That Sachin moment you talk about, of course, was an iconic moment because of what happened just a shade before and all the words but I wonder if Sachin really remembers that because he's created so many records and so many moments in his long career. But, how much hunger does Root have? Now, without the captaincy, has it improved his mindset to the point where he said, well, I'm scoring freely, I'm happy to play for as long as possible for England, as long as I'm selected? The 15,000 run mark is there, and it's not too far off. I mean, it might have taken a long time to get here, but if he's in good shape, why not?
Yeah, and he's spoken, Brett, about the captaincy having actually had an unhealthy impact on him towards the end, which you couldn't tell in his batting, but you could sort of tell in his demeanour and particularly England losing all the time as they were. But do you think he can, as Charo alluding to there, get even better without the added responsibility of being captain?
History is full of examples, Ali, and the numbers to back it up as well. Ian Botham significantly better after resigning the captaincy. You mentioned Sachin Tendulkar. There's another Indian example in Sourav Ganguly. Averaged a full 7 or 8 runs more after he handed back the captaincy. David Gower and Nasser Hussain are other English examples. I did prepare these earlier. And Stephen Fleming in New Zealand was another. So it sounds like basic sports psychology, but history is on Joe Root's side. If he is no longer captain, he can expect a fruitful period of his career. And that's the other thing. He's only 31, as Charo said, and still looks like he's about 19. So he could have a further 5, 6, 7 years left of being this world-class quality Test player.